Okay, what we're going to discuss here is a risk assessment on the gas cylinder, but first and foremost what this bucket's for. When we're soldering actually in the workshop here at the college, it's vital to have a bucket with water in it. That's not to cool your work down, it's in case you actually burn your fingers, and it's easy to plunge them into the cold water for 10 minutes to allow that blister to cool down and put some fluid back in the skin. But it's essentially there as a health and safety issue just in case you actually burn yourself. So let's look at the gas cylinder here. Let's make sure it's actually as we need to do. The gas cylinder itself, as you can see, is red in colour. It's actually meant to be orange, and it's actually what we call an LPG cylinder. LPG stands for liquid petroleum gas. Gas. What type of gas is inside this cylinder though? Well, this gas is propane, not butane. We use propane because obviously when it gets colder it doesn't freeze as quick as butane does, and butane tends to be used more in camping, but in the plumbing world we use propane. As you can see here, we've got the gas burner itself here, the torch. We've got the on-off valve here, and then the regulator. And what we do before we turn this gas on is we always make sure the on-off knob on the torch is in the off position. We've got quite a long tube here, and if this was 20 or 30 feet away and we turn the gas valve on, gas would naturally be coming out of here if we didn't check this. And in the real world, somebody walking down the high street could throw a cigarette and all of a sudden we've got a dangerous fire in our hand, or worse even so, an explosion. So we must make sure this is in the off position before we turn the gas valve on. So we're going to turn the gas valve on now, all the way open. Before we've turned this on, now we know that gas has gone into this tube, but we don't want to check this bit first. What we're going to do is find this leak detection fluid, and we're going to spray some on here where this regulator fits into the valve, because this was already built for us, but we want to make sure it's not leaking. And if this was leaking, there would be bubbles starting to appear, just like fairy liquid bubbles that you do in the soap in the sink. They would start to appear, and in that case you turn this off, you get your span and you tighten it back up to stop the leak, and you'd recheck again. So now we know that's all okay, we come back to this. The gas has already gone down into this tube. Just going to turn the regulator in. The regulator just slows or speeds up the gas flow down the tube. So we know that's back in, this valve's on. And now we can turn on and ignite, and that's the igniter button. As you notice, there is now flames coming out the end. This black handle is the only bit you're allowed to touch. By touching this, it gets very, very hot. It'd be like a lump of meat in a frying pan. It would seriously burn your hands. At the end of the flame, we've got this intense blue bit, which is what we call the cone of the flame. Now the cone of the flame we can control either by the on-off knob or by the regulator, because we want that cone of flame about the same size as the diameter pipe, and as you can see we are at just a bit bigger than that. So if we could reduce our regulator back a little bit, we've now got the flame, the cone of the flame about the same size as the diameter of the pipe. So we now know that we've risk assessed quite safely. We would go ahead and do our soldering, and once we'd finished we'd turn off the valve here. We wouldn't necessarily turn the gas bottle off because we may have some more to do, but at the end of the session we'll show you what to do. We place that back on the hook so it's nice and safe. This bit here doesn't get hot, just this bit on the end, so that's all nice and safe. And then most importantly, we'd put the gas cylinder on the floor, because if it's on the floor it won't fall on the floor, and that's the risk assessment of the gas cylinder complete.